Baru 3 peserta. Nggak aja.
Okay. Hello, Madhuvanti. Could you hear me?
Hi, I can hear you. Happy
Oh, wait a minute. I'm just going to switch it to the speaker. Wait a minute. I think I'm going to have to transfer something.
All right, 1 second. Let me just fix my
Wait a
phone.
minute. I can still hear you. Could you increase your voice?
Can you hear me now?
Okay. It's perfect. It's perfect. Now I can hear you.
All right.
Okay, so today we are joined by how many of you are here? 40? Okay, around 40 to 50 students are joining me in this classroom.
All
So
right.
you'll be speaking in front of the 40 or 50 students.
Okay.
Once again, thank you for accepting my invitation. It's our first time meeting online, I think. And I think it's a very good forum for all of us to have a discussion on Hindutva, Hindu nationalism, and BJP in the 2024 election. Let me introduce Madhuvanti Srinivasan first. So Madhuvanti is a journalist. She has been affiliated with several media outlets in India for several years. And now Madhuvanti will share to us about her insight as a journalist in India, about the recent Indian election, and about how Hindutva and Hindu nationalism influenced the dynamics of of the election in 2024, which ended up in BJP's winning the election, but with 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 even shorter margin than before. Okay, Madhuvanti, you have around 30 to 45 minutes to explain what you have in this topic, and after that we can go to the question and answer session.
Okay. To begin with, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity. Um, I don't think I'll do 30 to 45 because most of the story is quite long.
Could you speak closer to the mic because we haven't heard you clearly?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, okay.
All right. So, I'd like to begin and thank you for this opportunity. Um, The elections in India this time around in 2024, as you all know, ended up in Mr. Narendra Modi becoming the Prime Minister for the third straight term. But the BJP and the BJP-led NDA alliance didn't end up winning a majority that was needed for them to form the government, because of which they had to end up relying on allies to form the government. And the government is in full swing right now with the parliament session underway, etc. But can you hear me?
Yeah. We can hear
All
you.
right.
Oh yeah.
All right. However, the biggest surprise and the biggest highlight in the election this time around was the performance of the opposition, particularly the Indian National Congress and several of its allies in very key states and important states like Uttar Pradesh and Maharashtra, which are big states. So, just to give you all context, in India, out of the 543 parliamentarians who are sent to New Delhi to the lower house of the parliament for which these elections were held, um, the number of MPs, yeah, Okay, so the number of MPs or the number of members of parliament who are elected from a particular state is on the basis of the population of the state. So the larger the state, the more the population, the more number of members being sent to the parliament from a particular state. So Uttar Pradesh, being one of the largest and the most populated state, sends the highest number of MPs to New Delhi. So UP, I mean, as we call it UP in India, Uttar Pradesh becomes very important in a more electoral sense. Now, also Uttar Pradesh is also one of those states where, you know, you have a significant concentration of Muslim population and a lot of castes, um, even within the Hindus. So, what I mean, how do we put this? Social engineering becomes very important, your selection of candidates, etc., etc. So the BJP losing a state like Uttar Pradesh was a huge surprise for even people like us who were tracking the elections for all 3 months. But the bigger shock was also them losing a state like Maharashtra. I come from the city of Mumbai, which is the financial capital of the country. This is located in Maharashtra. Maharashtra is also among an important state in a more electoral sense, and it's also understood to be more of a swing state. I'm not sure if you guys understand what a swing state would mean. I mean, very popular even among American elections, where you have certain swing states which could move either the Republican way or the Democrat way. Maharashtra is also very.
I'm sorry, we're using your voice, Madhuvanti. I'm losing your voice. Could you please try to I'm sorry. Hello. I can't hear you. She just keeps speaking. Okay. Hello. I'm sorry, but I can't hear you. I'm sorry. Uh, Hello. Ya. Oke. Ya, permasalahan teknis karena sinyalnya di sana agak kurang, bukan di kita. Dari saya agak kurang. Kayaknya dia pakai sinyal HP nih. Jadi apa namanya? Problemnya banyak. Hello, yeah. I haven't really hear you. I'm still having the problem to listen to your speech. Oh no. Hello. Could you try to I think there's a problem with your microphone. I'm not sure.
Can you hear me now?
Perfect. It's loud and clear now. It's loud and clear. It's loud and
Okay.
clear. Okay, it's loud and clear. Thank you very much. No, you can continue. I'm very worried because something might happen with your signal or anything. Yeah, please just continue with whatever you've left off with.
But it's better, right? Can I continue?
Yeah. It's much better. It's clearer now.
All right.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. So as I was explaining, okay, let me just briefly sum up whatever I said in the past 10 minutes because I'm not sure how much of it was heard. So in the elections that just went by, we had the Modi-led um, party and the alliance winning the elections in India. But of course, the biggest surprise was the opposition winning the seats, or the opposition winning the seats the way they did. And that was also primarily because of the BJP's loss in two very important states in India, one being Uttar Pradesh and the other being Maharashtra. And a lot of other important large states in India, which include states like Tamil Nadu and BJP, which are typically and traditionally very are strongholds of the opposition, also were won by the opposition, with the BJP not making significant inroads as expected. So all of this together kind of culminated in the BJP not winning the majority in the elections and having to rely on regional allies like the TDP from the southern Indian state of Andhra Pradesh and the JDU, or the Janata Dal United, from the state of Bihar to have formed the government. Honestly speaking, the reaction, or I mean, for us as journalists, because we covered the elections for 3 months and even prior to the run up to these elections, we so Mr. Modi had set a target of 400 seats out of 543 seats for his party. But somewhere we kind of knew that the 400 seat target was a little, how do I put this, unrealistic. For a whole host of reasons. One of them was, of course, unemployment. Unemployment was time and again raised by a lot of opposition leaders across campaigns. And even if you'd see social media and you would see reels, etc., that would come up, and videos of, the electorate discussing what their key concerns were, unemployment was always supposed to be like one of the top concerns. Of course, polarization was also very well discussed among the masses, where people believed that this entire polarization between Hindu and Muslims were something that was touched upon a lot of times, because, as I mean, a lot of us know, like, India has had these values of being a united country, a secular country, a country where unity and brotherhood has always thrived. And the sense and notion ever since 2014, that is the year when Mr. Modi came to power, is that our minorities have been targeted. And there has been that sense of unease when it comes to minorities, not just Muslims, but also Christians, everybody. But of course, Muslims are more in the spotlight. And that has also been quoted and cited by the electorate for being one of the reasons why they ended up voting for the opposition. And also, the general understanding in terms of this election was that somewhere this was a lesson that was needed for the BJP, because there was that sense of invincibility. That is, this entire sense of, oh, nobody can defeat us, that started creeping into the BJP. And that was very visible among some of its leaders. I mean, you can understand, you can gauge with the way the leaders speak and with the way the leaders behave, and the way, at the end of the day, in a democracy like India, you can't take the people for granted, right? And that is exactly what has happened here. And the people voted for who they wanted to, and that is how the opposition came to power. In fact, let's face it, the opposition's performance was way much better than what we estimated. In fact, when the opposition time and again kept talking about, oh, we'll win X number of seats, people laughed at them, because everybody thought the BJP is coming back to power in a full majority. But only when the first 2-3 phases of election began happening is when people started sensing that things may not go down the way that we are all expecting it to be. And the counting day was a complete turnaround. We had huge ministers and leaders from the BJP, which include people like Smriti Irani, losing their seats to not so very well-known opposition leaders. So, we had that idea that, this election is, excuse me, this election is not going the BJP's way. Now, a lot of people ask whether this is BJP's loss or victory. Honestly speaking, it's neither. For them, at the end of the day, they are still in power. They still continue to hold control over a lot of important decisions. But of course, for the first time, the lower house of India's parliament will have an opposition with a voice. And that is very important for a democracy like India, because, you're not a single party state. I mean, you're typically not expected to function like one, because you are a democracy at the end of the day. So The sheer presence of an opposition with such a multitude of political parties sitting in the assembly makes discussions very healthy, and that's when it becomes important to keep basically checks and balances, right? It becomes important for us to keep the decisions of the government in check, and an opposition is always welcome. And in this case, we've not had a healthy opposition for the last 10 years. Yeah, for the last 10 years, because the BJP always had like an absolute majority, making the opposition's space in the parliament quite limited and confined. But in this case, with a thriving opposition, it becomes it becomes important, and it also is a very welcome feature in terms of keeping certain decisions of the government in checks and balances. So that being that, um, also in India, I mean, I'm sure people are, if not very well exposed to India, have a certain idea of how diverse India is. So even within voting patterns in this election, you must have seen, or a lot of us noticed, that there wasn't a very significant distinction between the way North India voted and with the way South India voted. In fact, the southern part of the country is always said to be a little anti-BJP, barring one state, which is Karnataka. Most of the states end up not voting for the BJP. That's also because of the sheer presence and the strength of regional parties in these states. But the BJP managed to make inroads in Kerala. So Kerala is one of India's most literate states, and they ended up winning one seat in this state. And the gentleman who won the seat was then made a minister in the current cabinet. So you can imagine how important it was for the BJP to make those inroads in southern India. Everywhere, when you look at it, barring a few states, the BJP has had stiff competition everywhere. In every other states, even in, so there is something called as the Hindi heartland in India, which is central and northern India, which would include states like Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan and Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, and a few more other states. Even in these states, barring Madhya Pradesh, where it was a full sweep by the BJP, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh were all states where the BJP faced very stiff competition. So it is not a victory per se for the BJP, but it's not a loss either because they've ended up forming the government. So more or less, that's more of the gist and context of how elections were. And I think I'd like to take questions if you guys have, so that I can probably give more answers and more information as and when it comes.
Okay. Madhuwanti, thank you very much for this introductory insights. I think before we are moving to question and answer sessions by the students, we have around 40 to 50 students. The camera only shows you the right side of the class. We have more audience on the left side. I will show it to you later. But my first question will be this, as an introductory question before we are going to the question and answer session by the students. So all of us have known that Ram Mandir has been constructed in Ayodhya, yet the BJP is significantly losing in the same area. For you, what is the main reason behind the losing of BJP in Uttar Pradesh, which is originally known as the place where Yogi Adityanath was in power for about 4 to 5 years? What is the behind that?
As I said, see, the fact that, every time Mr. Yogi Adityanath would be asked a question in a news panel about, oh, how many seats is the BJP winning in UP? He would be like, oh, the BJP is winning all 80 of 80 seats. In fact, the BJP losing in a seat like Ayodhya, which is actually called Faizabad in the Lok Sabha electoral roll. So the constituency is called Faizabad. So the fact that the BJP ended up losing in Uttar Pradesh is more economic than religious. To be very honest, the fact that unemployment, as I mentioned, was a huge matter of concern among the electorate, was time and again raised by the electorate every time there were discussions with journalists, etc., is more or less. And the thing with the Ram Mandir, see, at the end of the day, a lot of us, even I am a practicing Hindu, and one second.
Okay.
I'm very sorry. I just had somebody at the door.
No worries,
So
no worries.
the fact, yeah, so the fact that the BJP ended up losing in constituency like Ayodhya. See, as I said, I'm a practicing Hindu, but for us, faith is personal, and mixing faith with politics is not something that works in favor of all the Hindus who live in India. You know, we are all people who've grown up with Muslim classmates, with classmates across. I've had Jewish classmates in Mumbai, and we've had Sikh, Christians, we've had people from every single community, and we've all been together, we've all studied together. And then for us to, turn this, I mean, the fact, this entire agenda or this entire game plan to have turned, of course, Ram Mandir means different things to different people. It could mean something very significant for somebody else. For me, it's a matter of faith, but I'm not going to allow that to overshadow the other issues and concerns that the electorate has had, right? So somewhere a lot of people thought that, oh, by building the Ram Mandir, maybe the BJP could sway a lot of votes in these constituencies, but that's clearly not happened because there have been a lot of reports and news reports of, people's houses being destroyed in this entire, how do I say, in this entire process of building the temple there and things like that. And of course, all of those votes have gone against the BJP. So there have been a whole multitude of reasons, but I believe that it is more of an economic concern than religious concerns in terms of the BJP losing it in UP.
Okay, so it means that people are still trying to express more into their economic concerns rather than just religious consideration whenever they are choosing the party. Which brings me to the second question. So, how BJP is still trying to influence masses using Hindutva by offering populist agenda while they are still trying to manage all of these economic problems starting way back from the COVID-19. Why it is still such an appeal for Indian populace, especially we are looking into the case of where some member of parliament did win seats in states such as Kerala and also in several other states. Why Hindutva is still so appealing? What are the basic things about Hindutva that make it so important for people to believe in the cause of BJP?
So the entire appeal, if you ever speak to people who end up supporting the BJP or have this certain reverence for Mr. Modi and his policies, one is that a lot of people believe that, oh, India is a secular country, but it is the Hindus which are in the majority. And the fact that in the name of secularism, they believe that it's always the Hindus who end up compromising on their practices, on their temples, and on their culture, etc. And they believe that they need a voice in the sense that they need further representation. Their culture needs representation. And then when you have Mr. Modi coming and building the Ram Mandir, then it ends up appealing to candidates like them, right? Like now in states like Kerala, Tamil Nadu, etc., the space for a party like BJP is extremely limited. But also in a state like Kerala, Kerala is also a state where you have multiple, political parties which are, how do I say, which are constituted on the basis of them being like a Muslim body. So the argument then is when you have political parties like them, or when you have bodies like them functioning, then why is it that the BJP can't, or why is it that the BJP cannot function? Why is it that the Hindus cannot, you know, how do I put this, cannot express their way of life in a country like India where we are in the majority? A lot of politicians from the BJP they think that India should be a Hindu Rashtra or a Hindu nation, which is of course questionable because the constitution of our country, the fundamentals of our country never um, allowed for something like this to happen because that's how it is. I mean, contrary, right? Like even Turkey is a secular country, even though you have 99% of people being Muslims. It's still a secular country by constitution. So that is the whole argument here also that, so the entire appeal for Mr. Modi is simply this, that, the fact that Hindu supremacy, simply put it, that we are the majority, our practices should be popular, and our way of life, our religion, our festivals, our temples, it's all about that. And then when you have leaders engaging in the same line of thought and having the same conversations, ends up appealing to the masses. And they think, a lot of the BJP supporters would think, oh, we've been suppressed for all these years by the Congress in the name of secularism. It's always been the others, not just Muslims, minorities across the board. It's always been them who've been given importance. So they accuse the Congress of something called as appeasement. That is appeasing to the minorities at the cost of the majority, which is the Hindus. Then you have a conversation about people talking about the silent majority in India, which is the Hindus, which have been suppressed by the Congress, etc. So these were all those issues that the BJP tapped into. Because let me put it very briefly. We as Indians are very emotional people. The moment you talk about us to things like this, which tend to kind of sway us or make us emotional, we end up bending our ways. And that's clearly what has happened with Mr. Modi. So the moment you talk about Ram Mandir, and if you've built it after so long, when the case has been at the courts for so long, and then suddenly you have the Ram Mandir, you have people going into the temple, etc. And then you have, like, I've had people who've gone to Ayodhya, who've gone to the Ram temple, have come back and are like, oh my God, it's a once in a lifetime experience and things like that. It could be. I am not denying anybody's experience here. But my only point is that, the fact that it is the BJP and it is Mr. Modi and his party which has given Hindus the space to thrive the way they should be thriving in a Hindu majority country is what has appealed so much. Is what has made the BJP so appealing to voters.
Okay, interesting. This brings me again to the last question before I will move to my students. I think that students have several questions already. I hope so. Okay. So my third question will be: what is the nature of a majority and minority now in India? I mean, looking at the BJP's winning as a majority party in the parliament, and how we can see the future trajectory of the minority and majority between the majority in India, especially noticing that I think no minority member has become a part of the Modi's government. I mean, previously Modi used to have Muslim ministers, even some minority ministers, but currently I think that there's no minority minister except some ministers coming from northeastern India. How is your opinion about that?
So I think there's no Muslim minister in the current government, as far as I can think of. There are Christian ministers, there are ministers from Sikh. Uh, yeah, but I don't think there's a Muslim minister.
Okay.
But there's significant Muslim representation among the opposition. So when you look at the trajectory of minorities and majority, honestly, the trajectory is going to be very similar, because I am not expecting a sea of change in the BJP's approach towards certain things, unless and until, of course, we also have important state elections. See, that's the thing about India, right? The fact that it's not just the Lok Sabha elections, but you also have state elections. And at the end of the day, minorities become a very important vote bank for any party. It could be either the BJP or either, how do I say, or for the opposition. I'll just give you like a small instance. This entire So there's one gentleman who got voted to power in Kerala is this actor called Suresh Gopi, and he got elected from a constituency called Thrissur. Now Thrissur has Hindus and also has a significant concentration of Christians and Muslims as well. And surprisingly, Suresh Gopi didn't just win the Hindu votes, but he also won the Christian votes. So it also depends on how leaders function. There are certain BJP leaders who hold tremendous respect within particular constituencies across religion. Of course, the larger nature of the BJP is such, as we all know what it is. But as far as the future trajectory is concerned, I'm not expecting much of changes. We are still hearing incidents of violence coming from, stray incidents of violence coming from parts of the country. But honestly, I am not expecting much of a change when it comes to how things are right now.
Okay. Students, do you have any questions? Do you want to ask questions? Some of you? Questions, anyone? Kalau if you want to ask in bahasa Indonesia, I will have to translate it. Yeah, please, Ikma, come forward and ask questions. Ikma.
Hi, sis. My name is Sigma. I'm International Relations, batch 2022. So my question is, technically, BJP is using this kind of Hindutva things, right? So as far as I know that Hinduism is the religion and Hindutva is the political ideology, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but that is what I know from YouTube. And my question is related to the paper that our group would like to make after this guest lecture. So how is the Hinduism and this BJP's propaganda of Hindutva affecting the global politics? Like, do you think it's only affecting the internally of Indian, or is it like there's a policy that could be affected on this kind of Hindutva things that are going on right now that coming from this BGP's party? Thank you.
Can you just repeat that question a little, please?
Um, how is this Hinduism and this BJP's propaganda of Hindutva affecting the global politics as a whole, in your perspective?
Okay. Okay, I got that. Okay, so see, the thing is, unfortunately, Hinduism and Hindutva, as you mentioned, has a very significant difference, right? Um, you can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So Hinduism and Hindutva have a significant difference when it comes to what it means. Hinduism is the faith that we believe in. Hindutva is the ideology, is more of a political ideology. It's an oversimplified explanation, but that's how it is. So, unfortunately, Mr. Modi's Hindutva ideology has not affected much of the global political order. Neither has it affected India's positioning in the global order. In fact, under Mr. Modi, India has only risen to new heights in terms of how important India has become strategically. So, the sheer, I mean, how do I put this? The sheer location, the geographical location and the strategic importance of India has somehow kind of overshadowed on all these for the West to question or pick up on, you know, their doubts on Hindutva or, the other incidents that have been happening. So honestly, I've not seen much of an impact on the global order.
Thank you. But do you think this kind of political ideology of Hindutva is like only affecting on the internally, and do you think that BJP's lose and win in this election also coming back from this political ideology, because they have this kind of agenda? India is Hindu's country, so the nationality of this Indian country is, yes, Hindu. Do you think that is?
I think yes, partly yes. As I said, that there was a lot of conversation around this entire polarization that's happened between Hindus and Muslims, because as I've said, we are a country where all of us have grown up together, we've celebrated festivals together. And this is a country where we as children are taught that, unity is diversity, our diversity is our strength and things like that. For us to have then, it was honestly like, I voted for the first time as a 18-year-old in 2014. So when I saw the kind of things that started happening after 2014, where we saw a lot of violence and all of that happen, it was eye-opening for a lot of Indians as well, especially my generation. So, a lot of us don't honestly believe in this, do not believe in the fact that India is just for the Hindus. We've always grown up, this country has been built by all of us, not just Hindus, but significant Muslim stakeholders, Christian stakeholders. We have the Parsis, we have the Jews. I mean, we have so many castes and communities in the country. So honestly, I think it has had a part to play where people have questioned what the BJP has done in terms of polarization. But as I said, only partly. It's not been the only reason why the BJP has lost votes this time around.
Well, thank you so much for answering my question. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any other? Yes, please.
Hello, Miss Madhuvanti.
Hello.
My question is, if I'm not mistaken, you said that previously that there is no Muslim government, Muslim minister in the current government. Is that right? But there is Christian minister. So is it because there is a bad sentiment towards Muslim, or is it just because no Muslim capable in the government?
Honestly, I think in this case, the reason why they don't have a Muslim minister in the government is also because they don't have a lot of Muslim members. It's very limited. In the past, we always had this one gentleman called Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi who would become the minister. He would always be the minority affairs minister all the time. So, the reason why the BJP doesn't have a Muslim minister, in all honesty, is also because they don't have a Muslim member to become a minister. You know, they've had Christian members who been voted, or they've had other community, members to have been, who could have become ministers. But in this case, I honestly, again, this was very stark. A lot of journalists pointed this out, that how can a country like India, with a significant population of Muslims, not have a Muslim minister? But having said that, the BJP honestly doesn't have a lot of options because they do not have a lot of Muslim members to have been made ministers. But if you ask me whether it's right or wrong, I would say it is wrong, because every community needs representation, and in this case, the Muslims should have had representation in our ministry. But
So, do they think Muslim is bad? Of course, I'm Muslim. I can advise. I think. Do they like have bad sentiment towards Muslim? Like, what did the Muslim do? Do they feel certain or? Thank you.
Okay, next question.
okay,
I'm not
Oh,
sure.
you're.
Yeah. Do you
do you want to repeat the second question?
Yeah. So the BGP thinks, like BGP has bad sentiment towards Muslim, or how? Because they don't have the government. I mean, yeah. Do you get my point?
Sorry, are you asking me why does the BJP have an issue with Muslims? Is that what you're trying to ask? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, honestly, that's a question that only the BJP guys can answer, because I don't support the BJP either because of these ways. So, as I said, see, the thing is, they end up citing a lot of history by saying that, I'm not sure how much of Indian history you guys are familiar with, but we've had the Mughals who've ruled over India, and we've had kings like Akbar and Jahangir and all of them who've been our kings. And um, a lot of your supporters would say that, we've had Muslim kings come from Persia and from other countries come and loot India. They are the ones who've taken all our riches and things like that, and destroyed temples in the past. So a lot of the blame is put on history, saying that, this is what they did to India in the past and all of that. But again, as I said, it's a good question. Honestly, none of us have ever thought what is that specific issue with why is it just Muslims who are targeted? But as I said, sometimes they end up calling them infiltrators, or people who've gotten into the country forcibly. Honestly, none of us agree with most of the things that they say, but yeah, these are largely the reasons why they have. But yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we still have some questions. So, yeah.
As you mentioned before about BJP lost many seats yesterday election in yesterday election, will future will the future election will continue like that? Will the minority in the future be able to defeat the BJP? Thank you. Will you
Sorry,
get
I think I didn't get your last point. Can you repeat it?
okay? The BJP yesterday lost many seats. And in your perspective, will in the future election will continue like that? I mean, will the minority in the future be able to defeat the BJP?
Okay, so you're asking me whether the BJP will be able to win in the future election, something of that sort?
Yes, the opposition of BJP, the
Okay.
opposition party.
Will the opposition be able to win in a future election or defeat the BJP is what you're trying to ask?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So now that all depends on how the opposition strategizes, right? Like, for instance, in this case, the opposition, how do I say? The opposition addressed the key issues that the people faced, but the BJP was not doing it. So a lot of the opposition's strategies really worked in favor of them, and that is why they won the way they did. But now, if you ask me whether the opposition will ever be able to defeat the BJP in a national election, very, very honestly, it's tough. It's very tough because at the end of the day, whatever one could say, the support that the BJP has in India is huge. And I mean, there are people who literally worship Mr. Modi. So for them, people are like, he's the one who's changed the country. He's the one who's made India what it is. So for the opposition to break that narrative and to defeat Modi is honestly very tough. So honestly, state elections on a more state level basis, they could. But if, let's say, 5 years, we have the next general election, and after 5 years, 2029, I'm assuming, for now, it looks very difficult. I don't think the opposition could defeat the BJP soon.
Okay, any other questions, perhaps? Ada yang mau nanya lagi mungkin pertanyaan? Okay, everyone. Anyone? You want? You want this? Okay.
Like I want to ask about her being a journalist in India.
Wait, just ask it. Just ask it. No worries. Let's go. Let's go. Yeah. Okay, so are there anyone who would like to ask questions after this voice? Please, ma'am. Are there anyone who would like to ask questions? Okay.
Hello, let me introduce myself. My name is Linda Salman. First of all, even my friends asking about how BJP win and about Hindu nationalism, I'm more interested in the journalist field that you are being a journalist. So because as we know that Hindu nationalism is very dominant in India, and I want to ask uh, about your experience being a journalist. Is there any challenges and on reporting the Hindu nationalism and the BJP's win?
Also, you want to ask about my experience as a journalist in India?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So being a journalist in India is quite challenging because not all of us know everything about our own country, because again, as I said, it's huge, it's super diverse, and also so many languages spoken, and it's just very It is very challenging. It's always been challenging. Um, okay, how do I put this? In the sense that it was tough even when the Congress was in power. I'm not going to say that things were very hunky dory and were easy and that things were very free when they were in power. Journalists have had issues even when they were in power, when the BJP has been in power. Of course, news channels completely project one side of the story, are pro government and things like that. They have always been, these are typically the issues that are always raised when it comes to journalism in India, that you don't have a lot of newspapers and news channels which question the government, which is typically supposed to be what journalists are supposed to do. But that's not a trend which is specific to India, right? Like you can see that across countries. But my how do I say this? My experience, as I said, it's tough, but I don't think I would ever do journalism in any other country except India. Not just because I am from this country, but also I think the kind of diversity and the kind of how do I say, like every day is a new day because it's just so different every day. And politics in India is unbeatable. So I don't think. I think, yeah. So there are challenges, but things are still pretty okay in India as far as journalism is concerned. Thank you. You have one more question? Okay.
Yeah, actually, I have one question. Is there different hidden agenda in every different media of India in the journalism?
Is there an agenda in?
Is there any hidden agenda in different media? Like, for example, maybe one media is supporting one party and the other also want to like the hidden agenda is to promote other party.
I don't know. I can't hear you. I think your voice is breaking. 1 second.
Oh, alright. Okay. Is it? Oh,
Try to speak close.
wait,
Oh, yeah, with the microphone.
all right.
I think it's better for you to use it.
All right. Okay. Let me repeat my question. Actually, is there any different hidden agenda in every different media?
Okay. Yes. So there is, I mean, naturally, yes, every media house ends up having an agenda. Uh, there are media houses that try their best to be impartial. They try to be independent and report news the way they do. But as far as most of the media houses are concerned in today's day and time in India, at least news channels, if not newspapers, most newspapers are independent, at least partly independent, if not, but news channels are completely one sided, honestly. They're all pro government. And I don't think news channels, unfortunately, are not looked upon as very, very reliable sources of information because, you understand with coverage, right? The kind of stories that are put out, the kind of stories that are not put out, why they are not put out, and why certain stories are targeted. So, naturally, yes, most of your newspapers, people still prefer most of your newspapers, which then become news websites, end up more or less covering most of your stories. But news channels, definitely, yes, are most of them, be it English, be it Hindi. I'm only talking about English and Hindi. I'm not talking about other regional channels. Most of them are pro government.
Okay. Thank you so much. It's very clear. Thank
Thank
you so much.
you. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Madhuvanti, it's a very nice session with you because my students ask very wonderful questions. Even though we are learning only some parts of Indian politics, but it seems that they've known a lot of things from you and also from these discussions. So thank you for this. Do you have any closing statement before we are concluding this session? Anything that you want to say to my students?
It's just the fact that, the fact that there's this bunch of 40 students in an Indonesian classroom having questions on Indian elections is a little surprising, honestly, because I kind of didn't expect, I honestly didn't expect any questions to come up because I never asked questions in any college discussion when I was in college. So the fact that you had like 4 or 5 people even walking up and asking these questions is quite surprising, and I'm glad. And yeah, that's about it. I hope you guys visit India soon. I mean,
Yeah. I think that well, I don't know. Perhaps some of us, well, probably me. I mean, like wanting to go to Mumbai just to do some conference and to eat vada pav, which is one of the.
oh, are you guys expected to come? Are you all coming to?
Well, we're especially in. So I'm having 2 courses on South Asia right now. This is on religion and international relations, and 2 other classes are on South Asia. So students who are enrolled in South Asian classes are currently writing a paper, and we are trying to submit it in one of the conferences in India. It could be in Delhi, it could be in Mumbai. So we are trying to draft some papers. If it's got accepted, then we are trying to make a go to India. I hope that I can see you soon.
The hard luck. I'm moving out of Mumbai in like a week, so.
Yeah. Okay, so let me just what is it? Show you all of the students here. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, say hi. Okay, so all of us are almost 40, I think, yeah, 45 students of this classroom. The boys are not really keen to us because they have no questions at all.
This is absolutely okay. As I said, I never had questions back in the day, so I don't expect much of them to have.
Yes, thankfully I have smart students here. Smart. Okay, so I think that's all for today. So let's give a round of applause to Manuwanti.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So we shall see you again once I go to India, probably soon. Thank you so much, Manuwanti.
Thank you so much. Good
Yeah,
luck to everybody. Thank you.